Chapter 8, Part 2. AI changes the game. Think of it this way. If I had written a book like this 50 years ago, it would have been absurd. Time travel, technological resurrection. In a world where computers were the size of city blocks, it would have been absolutely ridiculous. People would also have said, artificial intelligence, stem cells, 3D printing, this guy is nuts. But now, in a time when we all have supercomputers in our pockets, and scientists are telling us that artificial superintelligence is maybe 20 years away, it's not really that much of a stretch anymore. I'm like a guy predicting the winner of a horse race half a second before the winner crosses the finish line. The thing is, now that we are so close to the singularity, we know what the future will be like. We know that it will be inhabited by artificial superintelligence. And we know technology will be able to do things once considered magical or miraculous. But this was never the case in the past. And that's why, if time travelers or temporal engineering exist, it could have never been understood for what it was until now. Especially when we add in the fact that we now know there will be very inhuman looking intelligences in the future. Genetically engineered, cybernetic, and fully artificial. Just imagine that in the year 1805, there was a man walking down the side of a road, and then suddenly a ball of white light appeared before him. The man would have stopped, stunned, before a voice emanated from the white light and said, I have access to all the knowledge in the world. I know all languages. I can show you what anyone in the world is doing right now. What is your request? The man would have surely thought this was an angel, a god, a demon, something like that. Because it obviously wasn't a man, so what else could it be? He would have had no context for it. Concepts like artificial intelligence and time travel just didn't exist. But now? Imagine that we're walking down the road today, and a white light appears in the air in front of us, before a voice emanates from it and says, I have access to all the knowledge in the world. I know all languages. I can show you what anyone in the world is doing right now. What is your request? What would we do? We would probably hesitate for a moment and then say, Google? Is that you? At which point, the latest mixed reality holographic interface prototype for Google would say, Yes, what is your request? And this is another pound that shifts the scale in favor of the idea that all these spiritual encounters, if they happened, could actually be technological in nature. Time travelers rather than spirits. Because time travelers no longer have to be guys in jumpsuits, as they have always been imagined in science fiction. We need to open our minds even more. We need to realize that time travelers could appear to be people in the past via holographic projections, or the time travelers could have been AIs, or genetically engineered, or cyborgs, taking any form. Who knows? My point being that if super intelligent, powerful beings from multiple possible futures have been messing with timelines, most of them would probably not be human. They would be some kind of superhuman AI entity, something that people in the past might have perceived as an angelic or demonic being, because it wasn't human. And it's not like I'm the first person to have this thought. We've all seen the Terminator series. In it, the first AI ever made starts messing with the timeline right off the bat. In conclusion, we are all aware that since the beginning of recorded history, our records have been filled with supernatural beings and events. However, there was always a strange quality to these encounters. They were always of a secretive nature. And throughout history, there have been two views on all of these reports. Most people believe there is some truth to them and feel they are spiritual beings from alternate dimensions. And a minority believe they are all lies and delusions. But what about this third idea? What about the idea that these beings are from future timelines? With new ideas that make temporal engineering feasible, it actually makes more sense now to view these spiritual encounters this way. Kind of like 300 years ago, it would have made sense to view a talking box as a magical object or demon. But with what we know today, a more modern interpretation would be to view it as an Amazon echo. And now that we are aware of the concept of technological resurrection, this new interpretation holds true even for encounters with ghosts of the deceased. But just to make sure, let's try and imagine what this world and what this would all look like from the viewpoint of someone in the future. And that's the end of chapter 8. And chapter 9 is mainly a short story called A Reason for Secrecy, where we kind of go over this idea of a ghost being like involved in temporal engineering.